Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? You've checked all the boxes. Good job, nice apartment, a social life that looks great on Instagram. When you're alone, when the noise fades, there's this emptiness. A nagging feeling that something is missing. If that sounds familiar, then you need to hear Daniel's story. Daniel was the guy everyone wanted to be. At 28, he was a senior analyst at a top firm, drove a car he'd dreamed of since he was a kid, and his weekends were a blur of trendy restaurants and rooftop parties. On paper, his life was perfect. A 10 out of 10. But in reality, Daniel felt like a fraud. Every morning he'd stare at his reflection and see a stranger. The applause at work felt hollow, the laughter at parties sounded distant. He was living a life, but it didn't feel like his. It felt like a role he was playing, a script written by someone else's society, his parents, his own younger, more naive self. He was lost, adrift in the ocean of his own success. One rainy Saturday, trying to escape the deafening silence of his apartment, Daniel found himself wandering into an old, dusty bookstore he'd never noticed before. It's the kind with towering shelves that smelled of aging paper and forgotten stories. He wasn't looking for anything in particular. He was just looking for a distraction. As he ran his fingers over the spines of worn-out classics, a gentle voice startled him. A good book is a conversation with the past, but sometimes the most important conversation is the one we have with ourselves. He turned to see an old man with kind eyes and a warm smile, sitting in a worn leather armchair. He had a stack of books beside him, but he was just watching the rain fall outside. Daniel, usually reserved, felt an uncharacteristic urge to talk. "I'm not sure I know how to have that conversation anymore," he admitted, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. The old man, whose name was Mr. Harrison, simply gestured to the chair opposite him, and so Daniel sat. He told this complete stranger everything: the perfect job that felt like a cage, the friends who knew the surface but not the soul, the deep, gnawing emptiness that success couldn't fill. He confessed that he felt like he was constantly running on a treadmill, chasing a finish line that kept moving further away. Mr. Harrison listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. When Daniel finished, his voice hoarse with emotion, the old man didn't offer platitudes or easy answers. Instead, he asked a simple question. "Daniel, when you were a boy, before the world told you who you should be, what did you love to do? What made your heart sing, just for the joy of it?" The question hung in the air, simple yet profound. Daniel was stumped. He had to dig deep, past the years of ambition and expectation. He remembered spending hours in his backyard, not with toys, but with a magnifying glass, studying ants and the intricate patterns on leaves. He remembered filling notebooks, not with homework, but with sketches of fantastical creatures and worlds only he could see. He remembered the thrill of building a wobbly treehouse with his dad, the smell of sawdust and the pride of creating something with his own hands. These memories felt like they belonged to another person, a boy he barely recognized. I liked to build things," Daniel said slowly, "and I loved to draw. I loved understanding how small things worked together to create something bigger." Mr. Harrison smiled. "And what does your successful life have you building, Daniel? Spreadsheets? Reports? Are you creating, or are you just compiling?" The word hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. Compiling. That's exactly what it was. He was compiling data, compiling a social life, compiling an image of success. Wasn't creating anything that truly came from him. "It seems," Mr. Harrison continued gently, "that you've been navigating with a borrowed map. You've reached a destination, but it's not yours. Your own internal compass has been ignored for so long, it's almost silent." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed in his mind. Your internal compass. For the first time in years, he tried to listen. Not to the buzz of his phone or the chatter of his thoughts about work, but to the quiet space underneath it all. It was faint, almost inaudible, but it was there, a whisper. The next day, on his lunch break, Daniel didn't go to his usual upscale cafe. He walked to an art supply store. His heart pounded as he bought a simple sketchbook and a set of pencils. It felt both ridiculous and exhilarating. That evening, instead of scrolling through his phone, he sat at his kitchen table and just drew. It was clumsy at first, awkward, his hand felt stiff, his mind blank, but he pushed through the discomfort. He drew a coffee cup. then a plant on his windowsill. Then he started doodling from his imagination the strange, fantastical creatures from his childhood notebooks. Slowly, miraculously, something inside him started to unclench. With every pencil stroke, a layer of rust seemed to fall away from his soul. It wasn't about being good. It was about the act itself. The pure, simple joy of creating. This small act of defiance against his perfect life became his anchor. He started taking a different route to work, just to see new buildings and new faces. He spent a weekend visiting a botanical garden, not to take photos for social media, but to just sit and observe, like he did with the ants as a child. He even bought a simple woodworking kit and started carving a small, clumsy-looking bird. It was lopsided and amateurish, but it was his. He had made it. And it brought him more satisfaction than any bonus check he'd ever received. He was still a great analyst, but he seemed calmer, more present. He stopped chasing the next promotion with such frantic energy. Some people thought he was slacking off, but others saw a newfound confidence in him, one that wasn't tied to his title. He started saying no. No to pointless meetings that drained his energy. No to social events he didn't want to attend. Every no to the outside world was a yes to his inner self. It was terrifying, but with each choice, his inner voice grew stronger, more confident. The whisper was becoming a clear, steady guide. One day, Daniel went back to the bookstore. Mr. Harrison was in his usual spot. Daniel didn't have to say a word. The old man looked at him and smiled. "The compass seems to be working again," he said. Daniel showed him his sketchbook. He talked about the lopsided wooden bird and the joy he felt in these small, seemingly insignificant acts. "I thought I needed to make a drastic change," Daniel said. "Quit my job, travel the world, something dramatic. But I'm realizing it's not about changing everything on the outside. It's about changing the one who is listening on the inside." Mr. Harrison nodded. The journey back to yourself isn't a leap across a canyon. It's a single step, and then another and another. You just need to choose the right path with each step. Daniel's story isn't about him becoming a famous artist or a master carpenter. His transformation was quieter, more internal. Didn't abandon his life. He reclaimed it. Found a way to integrate his true self, the curious boy who loved to build and draw, into his adult life. He started a side project at work, creating visual models to explain complex data, which combined his analytical skills with his love for creative expression. His bosses were blown away. He started a small weekend workshop for kids in his community, teaching them basic woodworking, sharing the joy he had rediscovered. Realized his purpose wasn't a single grand destination, it was the journey itself. It was the daily practice of listening to his inner compass and having the courage to follow where it led. Even if it was just to a park bench, to sketch for 10 minutes. The emptiness he once felt was slowly being filled, not with more achievements or possessions, but with meaning, with authenticity, with the quiet, profound joy of being himself. So I ask you again, what is your inner compass trying to tell you? What whispers have you been ignoring in the noise of your daily life? Maybe it's not about quitting your job or making a huge dramatic change. Maybe it starts with one small step, out buying that sketchbook, signing up for that dance class you've been curious about, taking a walk without your phone. The journey back to yourself can start right now, in this very moment. All you have to do is get quiet enough to listen. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. What small step will you take today? Let us know in the comments below.